Me llamo Brian.
Me llamo Lex.
Me llamo Steven.
This is the awkward side hug.
A little Spanish makes you laugh. All right.
Nosotros nos llamamos awkward side hug. Yeah, that was the Vertigo kicking in. I was like, whoa.
I was like, where's that car from? That Lex was frozen for a second.
Dude, that's wild.
All right, so this is the awkward side hug. Lex is a little under the weather, not what you think it is, but like, I feel like you have to throw an asterisk on that.
I know. I had it because on my Wednesday class, I was already like in it, but I was like, nope, I'm out of it. And also my doctor said like the medication was ready. So I just emailed my professor like mid-class on Zoom. I was like, hey, I'm just going to hop out. I'm not feeling well. I've had this since Saturday or whatever. And I was like, but it's not COVID though. Like you have to like include it all the time.
That's true.
But yeah.
So we're all handling it differently based on our facial hair.
Yeah. We look like the different stages of like quarantine. Like Steven's like day one of when you found out you're on quarantine. Brian's like, weekend is like, and then I'm just like 2 years in.
I'm like 2 weeks past quarantine, dude. Like,
You're back at work?
Quarantine's been over for 2 weeks, and I'm back to the norm, dude.
I was saying before.
That's my mental.
It's uncomfortable how clean shaven Steven is.
It's later in the evening right now, and I have some energy, so.
I wish he would have kept the beanie instead.
Dude, yeah.
Put the boy band beanie back on. I'm sure it's right next to you.
Yeah.
It's not a boy band. It's more of like that punk rock band ish feel. Seventh grade.
Fallout Dad.
Yeah, dude. Fallout Dad. Yeah.
The music about like
fucking Panic in the Playpen or
what? Okay, so this episode of the Awkward Side Hug is, we did our episode about COVID, which I bet you all that stuff's misinformed by this point.
Yeah.
But we want to be a little more optimistic at this point. I almost butchered that word, but I got.
Yo, you pronounce that word in like 3 different states right now, man.
Oh man.
All right, so
butchered your beard and butchered the word, huh?
I'm having a hard time. Like, yeah. For those who don't know, I caught a cold case of that COVID-13 on Saturday. I woke up one morning. And like I got up out of bed to use the restroom, and I was like, I was like stumbling. I was like, man, I probably got out too fast. I'm still like asleep wherever. And I had to work an hour after that. And the entire minute, every single minute, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm still super dizzy and off balance. And like every time I moved my head, I felt like I was gonna like fall. And yeah, it turns out I have vertigo. So I'm like finally on like the recovering end of it. So I'm like a good 60%, but I was living like 10 to 20% the entire week. So
how good are you on walking down and walking up driveways right now?
Good. Yes, I am.
You're solid. You can do it.
Yes.
Okay.
So on a scale of like the Loch Ness monster to Bigfoot, like where does Vertigo fall in between there?
Oh, no.
Steve says Vertigo doesn't exist. Change his mind.
I was telling Lex earlier this week when I was at Cal Poly my last year. I was called it my senior year, but when you're getting close to 30, you can't call it that.
Yeah.
I was there was moments where I'd feel like I was about to lose my balance just by walking, but then I also was really fat and probably didn't drink enough water, too much Coke and stuff like that.
As I said, jerk.
Just too much Coke? Like, it wasn't even...
Too much. I didn't drink enough Coke. I'm like...
What people don't realize, I'm addicted to Coca-Cola. But it's probably got the same effect as Coke.
Yeah.
Brian looks a lot more healthier.
Yeah, I'll say with that goatee and like the attire, it looks like he just pounded like a 12-pack of beer before like a college football game.
If you look at Brian pre awkward side hug and you look at him now, he's like 2 different Brians.
Yeah. It's like I look at him like, oh, hello, sir. But when he talks, like, oh, Brian, hey, I didn't see you there.
I look like I I call my friends littles and bigs.
Oh man!
Oh man,
no!
no, you can't.
Oh man!
Man.
Gosh, I'm still in
Also,
college,
so-
and that
That wasn't a jab at anybody.
Yeah,
shouts
yeah,
out to people
exactly.
who pay for their friends. What?
More power to you. Oh,
Oh.
man.
Oh man.
Wild. It's so funny because like the CPP memes page posted like a bunch of hilarious ones like last year, and how like like sorority. I was about to say fraternity girls. It's the vertigo kicking in. I'm just like,
Well, I don't know. At today's age, you probably have that.
yeah. Fraternity. What is it? Fraternity girls? I can't even pronounce it, man.
Eternity.
I just started drooling on the mic. But yeah, it was a bunch of like stereotypical like memes towards sorority girls in like Cal Poly or whatever, and it's like, oh, they all act like this, and it's all like, what, like just like going like just acting dumb and silly or whatever. And oh my gosh, I shit you not, like I've had like probably a total of 2 confirmed cases of sorority girls in my classes before over the past 2 years at Cal Poly, and both personalities fit every single thing on the meme, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like the typical like, yeah, man.
I used to have a friend in the beer class with me and Jesse, and he was in our group, and he was in one of those frats or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always asked him to invite me to his parties, and if I always asked if I could be his little, and stuff like that. And I always ask him like, what does a little have to do to become a big? And
Yeah.
just a lot of stuff, and yeah, it seems like a lot of work.
But, oh man, that's wild.
Sometimes
But
you just want to go to school, right? You're like,
yeah. Sometimes you just want to focus on passing your classes. Freaking if you were his little, like they would have to automatically promote you to like their big. Or
there's a weight limit for littles.
Oh man.
All right, so that was different. that was not on schedule.
I mean,
so for me is, and I feel like this is a very selfish thing because this might be putting lives at risk too, but I want sports back. I feel like I have all this time at home that I could be watching sports and they're not on. I'm watching Sports Center and they're just talking about the NFL draft the entire hour, which probably would have happened anyways, but at least they want to sprinkle in some highlights of the NBA playoffs and stuff. So to me, I've been following this for the last because we could talk about COVID and quarantining and all that, but I feel like I'm not people
quarantini.
But so there's rumors that baseball could come back in a very interesting manner, where it'd be possibly all the games played in Arizona. And I feel like I read about this article, and it comes up probably once a week, but I don't understand why they think they could play games in Arizona into like June and July in 100 and something degree weather.
That's wild.
Like, I've heard rumors of there'd be 7 inning games, players would be sitting in the stands and not the dugouts. They'd stay in hotels, be away from their families. So I want baseball back. So obviously I'm selfish. They could be away from their families.
Wild.
You've been with your family for about a whole month straight, why don't you just take 4.5 months off?
Damn, dude, you're wild.
Crazy. This is coming from the guy who yelled at me for going to the store. So put that into perspective.
You should only go to the store when you need to go. I go to the store. I've been going to the store at least once a week.
So I needed fucking snacks, dude. Jeez.
All right. So,
Steven showed up to the store on some contactless delivery for some like Reese's Pieces and a Coke.
Well, this guy, we were playing video games. This guy comes online and goes, "Did you guys know you guys can't get a big gulp at 7-Eleven?" I'm like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be able to get a big gulp at 7-Eleven."
Yeah, dude, I wanted a fucking big gulp. What's wrong with that, man?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because you could die.
I'll take my chances.
Those are Steven's struggles. That's tight.
So yeah, like it would be cool. NHL is kind of looking at the same thing. College football things are coming up about like, if students can't be on campus, then why should the players be able to play football? They're not being paid, so they're putting themselves at risk.
Yeah.
Basketball is trying to come back maybe in the summer. I don't know. No fans though, but I don't know what you guys think. Your things are on that. Your
So
thoughts
what are
are
your
on.
things on that? My things are like, you know.
What I
I
think this before you start, Steven, I think the biggest thing that we actually had a fantasy baseball
Oh yeah.
thing going, and obviously I don't know how that's gonna work if the games aren't played the way they're supposed to be played. And another one is fantasy football is very important to me and Steven and Lex. And I don't know how that's gonna look
Damn.
because we might draft in August and they might not even have games till whenever. So that's very yeah.
as much as I want to see the sports, some of it doesn't make sense to come back.
Yeah.
Like basketball doesn't make sense to finish
Why do you say that?
because like, are they gonna because typically they have a certain amount of time off. Are they gonna just start the next season at the same time and have that like either no rest or very little rest in between?
That
You
might
know,
be the case. Because it's funny because if you
how
look
many
at
regular season games were left?
there was about 15
15. Yeah.
on
So.
average per team. But it's funny because I would say out of every sport, and I feel like basketball is interesting because basketball is the first sport I think that come out with that actually had players that had COVID. You know, Rudy
Right.
Gobert, and then some Pistons players.
But they were like the ones that were deep into a season, right?
Right. But basketball is the one sport though that has the fewest amount of players out of the other sports that are trying to come back. And to me, the season's already almost over. If you want, you could determine who gets the 8th seed. You could start the playoffs and end the season within a month or two. But the players want like a month of training before the season starts again or something. I feel like basketball is more prepared to be able to like if they wanted to get going again and have it end again with at least maybe a month before the next whatever.
My bad, I'm just worried. We almost lost our man, Sam.
Sorry.
Dude, you see in Taiwan they already brought baseball back and it's with no stands and they have like the face masks like
that's going on in
the
Korea too.
yeah, that's crazy.
There was a rumor that MLB was thinking about moving all their operations to Japan and just like quarantine there, have baseball games there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things cleared up over here, they would come back.
Yeah.
Or do part of the games in Arizona, which obviously would have to end like in June 1st because Arizona right now, I'm sure is hot.
Yeah.
We're recording this at night on a Friday, mid-April. I'm sure it's hot.
It's like 107 right there right now.
Right. So I don't know where they're thinking they could just like let's just do Dodgers versus Angels at a noon game in the middle of Arizona. It was warm when we went to the Royal Rumble and it was in January.
Yeah.
Dude, that was crazy.
But like, yeah, I want sports. It's a very selfish thing, but I do understand the safety of the players and all that needs to be figured out. But yeah, I feel like I talked a lot right now.
Because I mean, like, are they gonna be keeping the players away from their family and anybody? Like, just basically, they're gonna be in a cell basically for the whole season, and all they can do is go to the game or go to practice, come back. They'll feed them and do all that stuff, and so basically, you're like a prisoner with benefits.
It depends.
So we could watch them play their sport.
But well, this is the difference between the college and the professional thing is some of these players their contract is based on if they play or not. So, like for example, the NBA players almost didn't get paid like 2 weeks ago when they were supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you want to get paid the amount that you have on your contract, then you're gonna have to do your job.
I think it's
I'm not saying that's ethical,
right?
but I could see why some players are like, yeah, let's go out and just play. And who's to say this is supposed to last all the way through the end of the season, especially for baseball? Baseball is a little bit more extreme. I think soccer too. Their seasons just started or were supposed to start, whereas basketball is at the end of their season, so you could kind of just like figure that out and then figure out what you're gonna do, go from there.
Mhm.
And football doesn't start to the fall,
Yeah.
so you have a couple months to see where this goes.
Yeah. Oh, so they don't get paid for a couple games.
The
The pro athletes.
yeah, well, it's
So
apparently
there's
yeah. So
people that don't have jobs anymore, but the pro athletes are the. Just trying to put that in perspective. I don't know. I don't really see a need for it to be back. More so than a want.
it's
I'm
more
sure
of
a
a
lot of
want.
people. Yeah, I'm sure for a lot of people because we're stuck at home and we want to watch something. But I don't know. Doesn't make sense to, especially I don't know. A lot of things are unknown. I feel like.
Well, to me, and it depends like who you affiliate yourself with because um, some people might take offense to this because this is a very political thing I'm about to say. We have a president who every week is trying to say we need to get businesses back open and we need to get the economy going again and stuff like that. And then the governors of like California, New York are like, no, we're not ready. You know, WWE is considered essential in Florida for some, like
But those are like because they know people that know people. You know.
right. But
Yeah.
it's like if we're gonna get if we're gonna get businesses open too early, and we're gonna start doing if that's gonna become the case, and we're gonna find a safe way for these athletes to play. Because
Mhm.
keep in mind, baseball is probably the sport that has the least amount of contact out of all of them.
Right.
If we're gonna find a safe way to play sports, to me that doesn't sound as extreme as opening businesses up too early.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing of closing businesses or trying to stop the spread. I don't think it's more so because of the disease itself or the virus itself. It's more so to keep a bunch of people from going to the hospital at the same time
Absolutely, right.
and overrunning that. So I mean,
To flatten the curve and all that.
right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't see it being an issue to reopen things in like phases. You know,
Right,
to do
I
things
get
in
that.
phase, which I
But
think that was suggested
my
in the
concern
briefing.
would be if things opened up too early and people responsibly didn't handle that, and then we ended up spiking the curve.
Right. My question to you though is, do you think that they're going to show sports for free?
It depends. Who
Because
knows?
they're losing out on physical attendance.
Well,
They're
the thing
losing
is,
out
like,
on all the money that they would make in the arenas from the snacks, the merchandising, all that stuff in there. And so now they're just going to put their players at risk.
well, they're probably also losing money from TV networks. The TV networks buy these games,
Right.
so like they could show it for free if you have cable or something.
Yeah.
But
So I
like,
mean, you know,
but like ESPN's not going to play. Is not going to pay baseball if they're not going to show baseball games.
right.
So, the reason I'm coming for that might not be true or not, but the WWE situation, which I've been following a little bit more closely, like there's Fox and USA apparently have told the WWE you could only have so many taped shows. You have to go live, or we're going to start taking money away. And so the WWE's like, well, we're going to start going live. That's why the whole Central Florida thing started happening. So the WWE's been trying to get ahead of it, and I feel like every day something changes and something's new.
Mm-hmm.
So like is to me like I love wrestling, but I don't consider wrestling essential. Like so like if anything, I don't think they should be out there wrestling. I think there should be if you're gonna put WWE programming on, put old episodes of Raw or documentaries or whatever. Like I personally I don't think like WrestleMania even should have happened. You know, even though I enjoyed parts of it. It's that's I guess how I feel with the sports thing too. Like I understand like if the safety is an issue, but if safety is not an issue, I don't see why not.
I mean, if people stop watching the WWE for like a month or two, is that the end of the company, or do you think it would like once everything goes back to semi-normal, or normal, like it'll just be where it was again before? Like, so, I don't think it'll just disappear
Well, they did just cut half their roster.
because Vince McMahon's
That was evil.
trying to save his pocket,
Yeah.
right?
There's a lot that goes into that.
How many people are on that roster that make millions of dollars and only wrestle like once or twice a year?
Probably at least 5.
And they make multi-million, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then there's people in there who make $200K and wrestle every day, and now they don't have a job and they don't have nowhere else to go wrestle because indie promotions are not open.
Right.
So it's a cutthroat situation.
In the end, it's a business.
Right.
I think it's more of a business thing.
Right. And you know what? Like at the end of the day, I know we look at like NBA players, football players, baseball players are making millions of dollars, but everybody kind of lives within their means. And I feel like they still have bills to pay and their bills might be bigger and they could lose a house or they could lose this or, their houses might be bigger or some people have baby mamas they need to, pay or whatever, like just because they make a lot more than us doesn't mean that they don't also have things that they need to pay and that maybe they don't handle their money well and they need to get paid and they need to play,
Yeah,
So,
I take the opposition on that one, but
because to
that's
be honest,
a discussion for another day.
because to be honest, like the one thing I'm against is I love college football, but I'm not willing to put college athletes at risk. If the students can't come on campus, why should they go play football?
Well, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think they should be playing. I mean, they don't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Like they're going out there risking themselves, so the colleges and the TV networks make money off of them, So.
But I'll tell you this, or at least this is my opinion. I think once sports start again, that'll be the beginning of trying to get back to normal life.
Is this a transition?
Sure.
All right. This episode's just been Lex like just surviving. So what do you guys think?
Exist, dude.
What do you guys think life would be post quarantine and COVID?
I said it
this
would
was
be
the fourth
something,
mic question, by the way.
Right. I think personally I think it's similar to like 9/11. You know how like after 9/11 people were scared to fly and things were different, obviously, different measures were taken. I think that's going to be something similar to this situation where people are going to be afraid to go outside or be afraid to go to large group things or large attended things. So I don't think you'll get packed out stadiums for sports. Or like concerts, or if they even sell out the stadium, maybe they'll just sell out a certain amount of tickets, less than what the stadium holds.
Right.
Maybe like put rows in between people,
Mm-hmm.
like empty rows in between people.
I think too.
At least there'll be toilet paper though. That's the good thing.
I do believe people are gonna still have to maybe wear some protection when they go outside. Everyone's just gonna have to leave the house wearing condoms, man. But like, I can still.
Grandma, where's your condom?
I can still see like it being not a requirement, but probably at least a recommendation in certain areas. Like, hey, if you're gonna go out eat tonight, please maybe wear gloves or a mask, and except when you're eating. I don't know.
People are fucking just like in their mask.
The food keeps falling down.
I heard like restaurants might have like less seating,
right?
To ease it back in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like I said, I think people are gonna be scared. I wouldn't be surprised, like certain formalities, at least for the beginning, where people go up to each other and shake each other's hands, or so I think those formalities are not going to be used for a while, and it would be intriguing to see if those formalities end up fading away. And then we have people like back in my day, we shook someone's hand when we saw them. And then it's like, yeah, but we went through a pandemic and now we don't. Now we just say hi.
Yeah, but I mean, did they shake hands back in 1918?
That's what I was trying to think.
I don't know.
You know, yeah, you're right. Maybe like a year or two. I don't know. I don't think handshaking just goes extinct.
Oh, probably not, but you know what I mean. Like
At least
because
not in American culture.
I think
it made a comeback after the Spanish flu.
Yeah, dude.
I think
Handshaking's like, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
I don't know. It's intriguing, but we're also a more informed era of people. We're more informed now.
Like
Yeah.
obviously, eventually, more people will build immunities to it.
Yeah.
And there'll be a vaccine, and
Well, the thing is, what I've noticed
life will
is,
go back to normal.
Some people, who dealt with like the earthquakes in the Bay Area in the 90s and stuff like that. Some people have these now like situations where it's like they take these things seriously for the rest of their lives. And I think like our generation is now going to take, hey, if it even looks like it could be a pandemic, we're going to get on top of it, and we're going to be and then we're going to have kids who are going to think we're just being extra boomer about it. But we're going to be like, no, you can't leave the house.
This is kind of a controversial question, but do you think it really fell on our generation that it became a pandemic? Or do you think it fell on leadership of a country that has knowledge of what's going on? Because how do you know, as just a regular citizen, living day to day, going to your job and everything, how do you know that there's a new virus or a new disease out there? Unless somebody tells you, right?
Yeah, it's information from somewhere.
So, I mean, like, it really doesn't fall on the citizens, I think, of the country,
Right.
If that information isn't passed to them.
I do believe, though, like a month or two before this, if we saw people wearing masks all the time and wearing gloves just to go grocery shopping,
it'd be funny. Yeah,
we would laugh at them. I think now that we've dealt with this, if we even saw a trend of this, we wouldn't like hesitate. I think next time we might actually be like, oh, I'm putting my gloves on early.
Yeah, I don't even think gloves and masks are gonna really save you, to be honest. Like, people are wearing like cloth, like people touch their face. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a mental thing for the person themselves to feel safer. But I don't think
the mask is there to protect people from you, not like they're not there to protect you.
Yeah, but like, you don't think that depending on the mask you have, like things go through the mask?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But
or your hands have germs and you're passing it.
But I feel like, for example, have you ever sneezed in a weird, I don't know, with the right lighting and you saw your particles just float?
Right, I know it shortens the distance, but it doesn't completely stop it right at your mouth.
The whole point of, I think, all these protections is just to limit the situation, not to stop it or contain it.
I think more so it's more of a mental thing.
It might be a mental thing, yeah, but I think
more so a mental thing.
But you also got to take it seriously enough to protect the people around you.
I'm not saying go lick toilet seats, but I'm not saying that we're gonna have to live the next 4 years.
I don't think Lex has said a single thing this entire podcast.
He has not, but it's okay.
I'm just trying to survive in advance.
Yes,
to the next podcast.
Jeez, dude.
So I don't think like we need to wear gloves for the next 2 years.
I was gonna say though,
I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying
maybe for the next for the rest of this year, maybe the beginning of next year, but comes a point
I think it'll start people will start incorporating better hygiene practices from now on. At least for
ass, bro. People eat ass. Like, it's not it's not really like, it's not any different.
There's nothing that proves that you get COVID from eating ass.
That's true.
That COVID-69.
That's true, dude. That's true. Maybe it makes you immune to COVID.
Yeah, for real, dude.
All I'm saying is, like, if it would have been stopped early, obviously they would have been able to quarantine those fewer people who had it, and it wouldn't have spread. And obviously now it's spread, and we're taking the precautions to flatten the curve and everything. But
I'm afraid, like, you know how like Florida's opening its beaches up like tomorrow or something, like soon. And I think once everything starts opening up, everyone's just gonna flood everything. So I actually am on the opposite end of that spectrum, where I think all those people who are dying, like the extroverts or whatever, who are dying indoors, as soon as they get the okay, like, oh, bars are open, like, oh, like the party scene is gonna be like way too crowded, like. So that's where, like, I wonder if like if a second wave of coronavirus is gonna be like really intense, it's like, oh, we're back to normal, or if it's just gonna not be as effective anymore.
My thoughts, and I don't know if there's experts who know more than I do, but my
I'm sure
thoughts.
there is.
I don't know. This is the awkward side hook.
Zash
Uh,
podcast.
if you get symptoms within 14 days and then you get sick, you're adding almost another week or two to your sickness. That could take almost about a month. So my thought process is once we flatten the curve, it doesn't mean that we have less people with COVID. It just means we're flattening how many people are getting like new
Sick
cases.
at one time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean, so to me it's like we would still have to wait for the curve to even drop. And even at that point, we would still, just to be safe, should be quarantined probably another few weeks to a month.
Right.
And I don't think we're going to get to that point. I think we're going to be out early, and then like I said, I do predict that we'll probably have a second wave.
But I don't think that we can go another month or two not being in, being open, stores being open, and the economy.
Well, I think to me, like, I know this is gonna sound like shitty, but it's like you're allowed to go to the store. You're allowed to go out on a walk in your neighborhood. It's not like
But
you
how do
have
you
to stay
pay for
inside.
the food at the store if you don't have a job?
No, I get that, and I
know?
know like some of us do, some of us don't. Like,
Maybe it's worth working and having that possibility, not even the guarantee, but you can wear a mask, you can wear gloves at work, and do things at work to keep you from getting sick.
apparently, it's all mental though. So
It is. I think like if you
Well.
feel safe, then
we're all
obviously
like
are gonna-
non-experts discussing like what the
Right.
government and how the economy should work.
Steven's
I'm
Steven's
not-
cure for coronavirus is a positive attitude.
I'm not scared to go to the store without gloves and a mask. Like I'll go without gloves and mask because I don't. Who knows? I don't know. Somebody can sneeze
Dude,
in
it's
my
like
face.
it's illegal right now though, to do that.
Yeah, I know it's illegal. That's why I don't do it. Well, technically, they're not going to ticket me. Like I've seen people in stores without masks.
Well, yeah,
This is
like people
Nazi
still do
Germany.
it.
It's not Nazi Germany. It's not freaking.
Dang, dude.
I know,
You're about to get taken down for 30 days, fam, from Facebook.
probably, but fuck Facebook too, dude. It's not. It's not like where they're. I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody getting ticketed.
I am
So-
very, like, for example, after June 2nd, I don't have a job. So I get the whole worried about how we're gonna pay for things and stuff like that. I am there, but I am also thinking that's where the government does need to step in and figure some shit out, because these are people's lives at risk too.
So what if the government decides to open things back up?
Because I don't think the government, and I'm not gonna say this because I feel like Gavin Newsom's done a really good job of caring about
I agree with you.
Californians.
Yes.
But like, to try to get the economy going again is not worth people's lives. But to get people to have money to pay for the rent and have food, that's important, but that's not worth trying to get the economy going again.
Where does that money come from, though?
The economy. I understand this is like this is a double-edged sword situation. You gotta play it right, or you're gonna mess it up. But like
do you really think the government's?
The thing is, if people start dying at a rapid rate again, this is gonna last longer. So we need to do what we got to do.
Have you seen the
now.
numbers in the deaths and things like that? They're not really that.
Are you the same? Didn't Dr. Oz say kids should start going to school because like only 3% of them would die, and that's not a big.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
That's
that.
hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's not what I'm saying.
But like,
Even wildin'.
if you think about it, though, like
People die every day, though. That's what I'm saying, and like,
not at this rate.
okay, obviously, like right now it's different, but once the curve starts flattening, like, and it's I don't know when you can say it's really safe to go back out, but eventually you have to go back out, right?
Eventually, but you gotta play it right. You gotta play it safe, or we're gonna be stuck in a quarantine again in October, and then the economy is gonna be even worse. Then, like, the best thing to do is take the hit now, and hopefully, we come out at the right time.
I think there's more people that don't benefit from that it gets worse for them than if things were to open up.
Well, that's where the government needs to step up and come up with another stimulus package. Like, it's just as simple as
The
that.
government's not going to give you a free handout. They did it
They-
once. That's it. They're done. They gave you
And
your one check, and that's it. They're done. They're
I
not
get
gonna,
that, but
you know?
I'm not. So if we're talking about who should and what should happen, I'm telling you what should happen.
We'll see what happens by next episode. Since we have less than a minute.
Steven's gonna be arrested for not having his fucking mask on, dude.
Next episode comes up. It's just me and Brian.
And you have vertigo? I'm just talking about myself. Oh man.
Oh man.
There's not a lot of jokes in this episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did a whole lot of talking.
Yeah, you're good, man. Awkward.
That was awkward.